Morning everyone, and welcome once again to my kitchen. I'm Tara, the Playful Vegan, in case you haven't watched one of these before, and this is another food vibration session where I show you how to make a quick and easy and simple plant-based dish full of immune boosting ingredients. And today is no exception. I'm very excited to be able to show you how to make this West African peanut and spinach soup that I discovered maybe a couple of years ago. I was catering for a workshop and I was looking for dishes to make. It was winter time and I wanted something that was wholesome and hearty and obviously very tasty. So yeah, I came across this from Cookie and Kate's website. It's cookieandkate.com. I've actually found quite a lot of awesome plant-based dishes from them, and this one I didn't have to adapt because it's absolutely perfect. Just note that I'm making half the amount today because it's just me and my housemate, and I keep wanting to create new dishes every day, so I need to make smaller portions so that we can eat everything. So let's start with the ingredients. So the first one I'd like to introduce to you, which is the main, for me, immune boosting ingredient, although I find that pretty much everything has some value to add to the body, is spinach. It's in fact, specifically, it's Swiss chard. I got some organic Swiss chard from Organic Roots in Hout Bay. They're still open and I can still get my organic fruit and veg from them, which I'm so happy about. Swiss chard has got, it's rich in vitamin C, A and K, along with a lot of other nutrients and minerals. You can taste it if you just steam it and eat it like that. It's salty, it's because of the minerals. And I must say, in terms of spinach, my go-to is Swiss chard. I like it because it's so dark and so flavorful and so versatile. Baby spinach is nice, but it's not great to cook with in my experience. So I've basically pre-washed this. It was super sandy, all that good earth. So I had to wash it a couple of times. Obviously took out the ribs and then cut it into thin slices. The recipe says around 1 inch. I mean, you decide. It's just thin strips basically. And I also used the salad spinner that my sister Sabine, shout out to her, got me also maybe a couple of years ago. I used to have one as, well, in our family, we used to have one growing up, and I didn't really understand the merits because I wasn't making, my own food really at that time. But yeah, I must say, like, absolutely love me a salad spinner. When you wash things, you can't believe how much water comes out of it. And it also, apparently I read the other day that it helps, if the leaves are dry enough, that it helps the dressings stay on the leaves. So that's something interesting that I learned recently. Okay, and then we're moving on to peanut butter. So the brand that I got, this is smooth, but you can also use crunchy. The brand that I got is Eden, and it's from, well, I found it in Pick n Pay and Spar, and you could probably get it at Checkers. It's actually one of the cheaper peanut butters without additives, without stabilizers. It's pretty much just crushed peanuts, no extra oils or anything like that, no added salt or sugar. So that's why I prefer it. And they also have a crunchy cinnamon and raisin. They've also got a choc chip flavor. So yeah, I think it's awesome. And then we're moving on to the onions, the garlic, which I'm going to mince, and then the minced ginger. I mean, those all, as I've mentioned in my previous videos, have immune boosting ingredients, antibacterial, antiviral, full of antioxidants. Then we're moving on to tomato paste. I love tomato paste, I must say. I love tomatoes, so to have that concentration in the paste is just awesome for me. And I read that processed tomato products actually have, they're also rich in antioxidants because it's a concentrated amount. I got this one from Woolworths. It's just got tomatoes and citric acid. There's also the Pick n Pay no-name brand, which is just the tomatoes and I think a bit of salt. You want to try, well, I do. It's not for everyone, can decide what they want to buy, but for me, one with the least ingredients, the least additives, you get some with E numbers and all of that, and I just prefer to just keep it as plain and simple, as close to nature as possible. And then I've got a little bit of water, which I'm going to be adding, some vegetable broth, which I've mentioned before. It's the Health Connection Whole Foods brand. And then just some fine sea salt, which I'll add if it needs salt. And then you don't have to, it's just optional. You could add some hot sauce. My go-to is the Chipotle Tabasco. I always get a big jar, bottle if I can, because I just love it, and I love the smokiness of the Chipotle, and you can get it from most grocery stores. And then, look, I've put cashew nuts there. It's not in the recipe. It's crushed peanuts as a garnish. But I just happen to have quite a lot of cashew nuts, so I'm just going to put these in the food processor with the S blade, crush these, and then just use it to garnish at the end. You could further toast these if you like, but you don't have to. You can just add them raw for the top, and then you can serve it with some optional as well, some brown rice or some white rice or potatoes, or you could just have it as is. And I'm going to show you how to make this delicious soup. Okay, so now we are getting this lovely, it's the broth and the extra water, and get it to simmering. I don't know if you can see. And now at this point we're adding the onion, the garlic and the ginger, and going to simmer it on medium to low for 20 minutes. I'm just going to cover it and I'll show you what next. Okay, now that we've simmered the onion, ginger and garlic in this lovely broth and getting a little bit of a facial as well, I've taken out a cup of, and it would be 2 cups if you're doing the full portion, of the broth, and I've just put it into a jug with the peanut butter and the tomato paste, and I'm just going to whisk it until it's smooth. If you ever needed an excuse to eat a lot of peanut butter, this is perfect. So you basically want to whisk this until it's smooth. Return it to the pot. Put it in the spinach or the kale, the hot sauce to taste if you're going to use hot sauce, and then some salt to taste as well if you're going to use salt. But my advice would be to try that at the very end once everything's cooked together. And what we're going to do after that is just bring it to the boil again, cover it, and then put it on medium to low for another 15 minutes, and then I'll show you the end result. Okay, so the soup is done, this gorgeous soup. Now I'm getting a bit of a peanut facial here. Here you go, this is what it looks like. I forgot to mention that you need to stir it fairly often while it's cooking the second time for the 15 minutes. But only really important if you have a pot that tends to stick. This pot is awesome, like every time I stirred it was totally fine, but it ends up getting quite thick with the peanut butter and the tomato paste. And also another note on the spinach, it does say use a bunch of spinach, but in those packets it's really hard to tell what a bunch is. So yeah, I just used like almost a whole packet for this half the amount. It's totally dependent on you, how spinachy you want it. And it actually ends up looking more like a stew, I would have to say, or a thick soup if you have it that way. Yeah, I also wanted to show you the peanut butter that I mentioned earlier. Eden, I think it's great. It has no sugar, no stabilizers, no preservatives, and no hydrogenated oils, and it's a cheaper brand to get, pretty legit. And I also want to give a shout out to my sister Amelie and her son Luke, my nephew. He's almost 5 in June. I would have to say they're my biggest fans because they basically watch all my videos and they make all the dishes together, which I think is so sweet. If I was only making it for them, then it would be worth it for me. But thankfully I have a wider audience. Yeah, I think that's it really. You'd serve it now with some, if you like, with some basmati rice. I've got some, or some brown rice, brown basmati, and then the crushed peanuts on top if you want a little bit of crunch. But if you use crunchy peanut butter, then of course the crunch is taken care of. I might put some crushed cashew nuts on here. And also when I was going through the ingredients, I realized that, you know, we tend to separate superfoods and normal foods, but any foods can be superfoods actually if they're grown with a particular, it depends on the way that they're grown, I suppose, how they're processed, all of that, but hopefully, preferably not processed or as little processing as possible. But I feel like because of all the amazing benefits you can get from each plant-based ingredients, you know, they're all superfoods in my view. And anyway, so I hope that you enjoy making this super easy, quick and simple plant-based soup, that it's getting you through the colder winter days or approaching winter. Stay safe, everyone. Stay well. I hope that you are all well. And until next time, I'll see you on Saturday at 11 a.m. Again, take care.